Thank you.
And now our guest speaker, Fran Gregory, with Changes, Choices.
Oh, now I'm muted. Okay, now I'm not muted. Okay, am I on?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. I was experiencing technical difficulties, technically being I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm on now. Anyway, today's topic is changes. I'll get it. Changes, choices, and challenges. Obviously, this is going to be a challenge this morning. Since there's only a few of us this morning, there'll be a little bit more audience participation, I hope. Anyway, I thought now was a good time to talk about changes. We've all been through some really large changes with the whole thing going on with COVID and with the political climate the way it is. And I'm sure we all have opinions about that and how it's affected us. But I'd rather talk today about other subjects. I feel like there's been so much focus there that maybe we've forgotten some of the other things that are even more important, our spiritual growth being one. And just changes in our own lives. Sometimes we get so focused on what's going on the outside world that we tend to ignore what's going on with us in our world. And when you think about it, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and I said, you know, I can't do anything about the big stuff except hold a positive thought and include it in my prayers. But the little stuff, the day-to-day stuff, the things right in my community, those are the things that I can work on. Those are the things that I can help change if change is needed. Those are the things I can support if change isn't needed. But staying in my own backyard, where I really believe Spirit directs us, is probably the best way for our own growth and the growth of the universe. If I have me in line, if I know where I'm going, why I'm going there, and how I'm going to get there, I'm much better able to control my outlook on things. And if everybody would, okay, I'll put it the way nobody really wants to hear it, if everybody'd mind their own business first, I think the world could be a much better place, a much simpler place, if we could concentrate on our things, our community. Of course, that starts with the Spirit. If we're turning to Spirit before any change and through any change, and looking at our choices more through the eyes of Spirit than the eyes of say, being upset or being totally giddy because it's a wonderful change. I'm sure we can all agree that some changes are really, really good and some not so good. The thing is, how do we react to the change? That's the thing that we always have control of. I think for me, I'm trying to remember where Spirit comes into any change in my life. And if I'm following the right path, Spirit comes in the very beginning and stays right in the forefront through the entire change. I don't make Spirit take a backseat to what I think I want, because I know that if I'm tuned in and I really listen, Spirit always has the answer. And that answer may not be the answer I think it should be at the moment. But I find those times that I can do that, Spirit's always right. I'm not necessarily, but Spirit is. And when I let Spirit guide me, when I bring God into everything, life gets incredibly good. And even when, and Michael and I've been through some changes that at the time I didn't feel were so good. But when I look back on it, when I finally got myself out of the way and I looked at it, I could see where it was headed and that there was a good direction, even if that direction was only me learning something I really needed to learn. I learned a very difficult lesson with one of my children. I learned to let go and let God. And that was probably one of the hardest lessons that I've had to learn. And it's a lesson that I pretty much keep learning, because I periodically think that I know better and I can fix it. And God, well, God's going to have to take a back seat because Fran's in charge now. And every time I'm in charge, it's a mess and I end up not feeling good. So even in things like that, we really need to let Spirit guide us, not our ego, which has a tendency to get in the way, but to let Spirit guide us. And what I'd like to do right now is open it up. I know there's not a ton of us here this morning, but we're small but mighty. I'd like to maybe have each of you give us an example of a change that's happening in your life, excluding COVID and excluding the political climate, because I think we've all been there. So, Cindy, I see you. You want to start? I know what your change is, but I don't hear you.
Mute. Yep, let me unmute here. There we go. As of yesterday, I officially completed my 2-year internship on the job front.
Yay!
So, yay! And that many people in our group got to see, oh, she's traveling. Oh, she's back. Oh, she's traveling. Oh, she's back. So yeah, we're done traveling, and at least for a while, well, especially given the circumstances. But for that part, I'm done. But now, as of today, I'm an official employee. So the rules change a bit, and the expectations and responsibilities will change. And so that, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's good. I'm sure it will be good. It will be a different kind of stress, but I'm going to do my best to just kind of roll with it and continue to learn and grow. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to present some really good opportunities, but it's a little scary. And some things I've had to shift priorities, and shift energy to be able to make this commitment and to step into this position as I really should. So, and that was hard, and it will be hard for a while yet. But, as you said, sometimes you do have to just let go and let God, and everything will figure itself out one way or another. So I'm working real hard to make that happen.
That's good. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And if you can just keep God in the front, keep God front and center, life begins to be much clearer. I don't know, my own clarity is not always so clear. But when I'm looking through the eyes of Spirit and in that spirit of cooperation, I get a lot clearer, both mentally and visually, so to speak. And I think that's kind of the way with all of us. Okay, who wants to go next? I picked Nora, but I picked Cindy, but I'm gonna let somebody else go next.
Debbie had her hand up. How about Debbie?
Hey, Debbie.
With the gorgeous new do.
Thank you.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was time for a change. Well, if I had to pick one thing that is a challenge, and I would say it's a stressor as well, it's what I call, the isolation, because I've been at stay-at-home mode and teleworking for my job mode since mid-March. I live alone. I don't have a pet. And so a great deal of the time I'm alone. And, it's an active thing working my prayer life and working my meditation life to maintain good mental health. And also to keep, spiritually tuned up as it is, because there's plenty of stressors. I'm sure everybody would agree with me on that. Constant changes going on. And part of that isolation is the shrinking of my friendship circle. One of my close friends developed a medical situation that basically took her out of the community and out of my life. I mean, I know where she is, and I have spoken to her a couple of times in the past couple of months, but truly, we're not having the same friendship we once had anymore. So it's a big change. And I feel this shrinking of my friendship circle very strongly, So that's one of my major challenges and stressors right now.
Okay, anybody else?
I was just gonna say, it's just important to keep the spiritual life going. I get up every morning and I do centering prayer. I don't know if anybody, Sherry Schultz talked about it about a year and a half ago at Unity.
And there's an app for that.
There's an app for that. I have that app and I love that app. And basically it's 20, I sit for 20 minutes and I have a word that I use. And if my mind starts wandering, I say that word and it gets me back to center. So I find that very important to do. In fact, I did it this morning when I got up. That's good.
Yeah, I think that is a very important thing. If we start the day out remembering that spirit really is the guidance that we need. And I don't do quite what you do, but I also, I have a kind of a mantra for the week. And, right now, and I can't sing a note, so I don't sing it. But the song that we sing before the offering, the I am blessed, I am so blessed. Whenever I start to get stressed, that's the thing I use. And I always make sure that I include that I am so grateful. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, truthfully speaking, I have to repeat it 10 times before that flutter in my stomach goes away or the pacing goes away, because I'm a worrywart. Don't mean to be, but I am. But I found that gives me great comfort. I think we all find our way through it, especially if we're in a new thought position, if we've come to the realization that spirit is within and that we can tap into that anytime. It can be the most comforting thing ever. If I know I don't have a long distance call to make when I want spirit in my life, all I have to do is think about it and recognize where spirit is. It's no great mystery, and yet sometimes I think we forget that that's where it is. And if you've got a mantra, if you've got a prayer, whatever it is, use it, and especially use it if a change is coming up. And I'm not talking about bad changes even, good changes. Remember, a good change is only a few inches away from one that's not so good. All you have to do is forget that God is active in your life and in the universe. And the minute you forget that, the change tends to go haywire. So if you've got that catchword, whatever it is, that brings you back to center, by all means use it. And if you don't have one, I would suggest that you find one, that you pull something out. I don't know, read a scripture, whatever it takes. Find that thing that centers you. And for right now, like I said, mine is that particular song. Not singing it because poor Michael would have to suffer through that. But just saying it over and over again. And I told Michael the other day, we were waiting for a check that seemed like it was not going to get here. And I had been all flipping out about, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this and that and the other thing? And I said, what are you thinking? And I started just repeating the I am so blessed and I am so grateful. And the check came in the mail that day. So you tell me what worked. Obviously, me letting go of my fear is what worked. And that's the biggest thing. When a change comes up, let go of your fear. And if it's a good one, stop as soon as you think about it and thank Spirit for that change. And then stay open to everything that change includes, not just, okay, this is it. I got a new job. But what does that entail? What are you going to have to compromise or change for yourself? One change almost always brings about other changes, and it becomes a sequence. And if we don't let Spirit take control in the beginning, the sequence can go really off path.
Sure.
So, anyway, anybody else want to share?
Yes, for me, a couple of things that kind of help me to give Spirit a front seat in all of this. One is just reminding myself, just when I just say the words peace within me, I just find that to be very, very beneficial to helps to give Spirit a front seat. And the second thing is for me is deep breathing, which I do a lot throughout the day. Just when I just kind of do deep breathing, that also helps to bring awareness of spirit within me more. So peace within and doing deep breathing is very beneficial for me.
I like that. That's awesome. And I'm doing more today than talking. I'm learning. And I'm getting some great ideas, and I appreciate it, you guys.
I just wanted to say one thing. I just picked these dessert cards, Course in Miracles dessert cards. And I just picked this card, which goes really well with what you're talking about. It is only because you think that you can run some little part or deal with certain aspects of your life alone. The guidance of the Holy Spirit is limited. I thought that was very applicable.
Absolutely.
Jamie,
I think I need that one. Michael's probably got it. I'll just.
What, Morris?
Yeah, Jamie, could you read that one again?
Sure. Yeah. It is only because you think that you can run some little part, deal with certain aspects of your life alone, that the guidance of the Holy Spirit is limited.
Yes, right. Yes, right. Got
So
it.
true.
Absolutely.
So absolutely true. And basically what the talk is about today. Anybody else want to share what they do with the change or change that's happened in their lives?
Yeah, I'm Reverend Catherine. Can
Okay.
you guys hear me
So
all right?
Hi, Catherine.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah. So I usually start my mornings meditating. And
yeah.
I usually spend like 2 hours, and sometimes I have an appointment at 9 or something like that. So I just back up the time that I get up. I am not a morning person. I mean, no way, shape, or form. But I know, if I really want to have a better day, even if it's not a great day, but a better day, if I start my mornings with my morning meditation and I'm holding my kitty, so she's part of that meditation. She's very comforting and she's purring and I'm listening. So every day I listen to Om Mani Padme Om,
Oh, yeah.
a mantra by Viana Music. and I have a 4-hour thing right here on my phone. It's 4 hours long. So I know that, if I go 3 hours, which I don't usually do, but, if it's a short time or a long time, I know that I'm not going to be disturbed. So I don't have a word or a phrase or anything like that, but I keep my mind thinking about spiritual things. Because sometimes our mind can like stink think, we get all
No, I love it.
wrapped up in this crap, and then our minds just get all like tight and gnarled up in this stinking thinking, and it's just like horrible. So if I keep my mind thinking about I'm healing on the quantum level, and my spirit just needs to, my outside world needs to match up with what spirit's trying to do, it just makes things, it keeps my mind free. The spirit can sometimes just give you a little poke or an inkling, or say, go there or do that or make this call there. But you can't do that if your mind's gnarled up. So.
I really like that. I like that phrase. I think I'm going to coin it.
Yeah, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Catherine Kenyon, this is my friend. She's just completed a CD in my studio, and
Fabulous.
I'm going to talk her into doing an online, CD release party. I think I'm going to talk her into that.
There you go.
Smiling,
I'm
so
just
anyway,
now hearing about that.
Fantastic songwriter and singer. I can't wait for you guys to hear her.
Yeah,
Awesome.
her album just turned out so well. The lyrics, everything. It is really inspiring, and I really didn't. I'm used to listening to Michael's music, and of course, I feel like that's always inspiring. But Catherine's is on a different level. It's a different type, but it's just as inspiring. And I think that's another thing. The musicians here, of course, will agree with me. Music can be very soothing when we're dealing with a challenge. Sometimes just opening up to the music, I find for me that the flute music is very, very soothing, and it takes that stinking thinking out of the picture, because I can feel spirit flowing through me.
Yes.
When I listen to that flute music, not just Michael's, Coyote Old Man, Nakai, there's a few others, but any of those things. So find something that soothes you, first off, especially when there's a change that you're not wildly thrilled about. Find something that soothes you, and then bring spirit fully in to the situation, and keep, as Morris said, keep spirit in the front seat.
Yes.
I am learning so much this morning. Thank you, Cindy, for asking me to talk. Because listening is equally important, and I'm really enjoying it. And the thing that I really want you to get out of this, no matter what, is if this change, if you feel it's bad, it can be right there. You've judged it. And the minute you judge it, it is what you say it is, because we all know the universe can only say yes. So if I'm going around saying this is awful, it is. It is instantly awful. But the minute that I decide to bring spirit in and to listen, it isn't bad. I can begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and not always a light I want to see. I'm not going to do the Pollyanna thing. And sometimes it takes me a while to find the peace in it or the good in it. For instance, the letting go and letting God with one of my children. I took it back over and over and over again. And it was very, very unhealthy for both of us. And when I could finally see that, Michael, of course, breathed this huge sigh of relief and said, well, I don't have that financial drain anymore, and her emotions might level out. But it took me a while to get there. He couldn't tell me. Nobody else could tell me. I had to feel it in my heart. I had to say, Spirit, I truly trust you. I let go and I let God. And I don't just let go of that situation. I let go of control. I do my best now to turn to Spirit whenever something is going on in my life. And the biggest thing, like I said, is I want you to remember that you can change your life if you change your thinking. And that's the biggest change of all. Change your thinking. Because all you can get is a yes answer. And sometimes it's not so good. So be careful what you think. And also remember, you don't have to beat yourself up for the bad thinking of the past, or even the bad thinking that happens in the middle of something. You simply change it. Go the other direction. Put Spirit back in the front seat where Spirit belongs.
Absolutely, yeah.
It changes everything. And you know, the other part of this talk was supposed to be about choices, and I think that we've done a lot of talking about the choices that we make. And the biggest choice is, of course, that we can change our mind. If we start there, the rest of the choices flow automatically. But anytime we have a change coming up, we do need to sit down with Spirit and make sure that we understand what that change entails. What choices can we make? Do I choose to be friends with this person and support them? Do I choose to find another path, bless them, and move on? Do I turn down this job because it's going to take all of my time and energy? Or do I jump in and do it to the best of my ability and celebrate the fact that I'm being successful and that it's being recognized? Those are just samples of choices that we can make. All of them important. And choices on little things can be important too. You know, for instance, most of you know that I had a heart attack in January. And that was a big surprise to me. And it was a big change for me. Did I decide not to wash my chicken's feet ever again? No. But did I decide that I needed to do some other changes in my life? Some different thinking, probably give my husband a lot of relief from worry by not being quite as anal retentive as I've been, by letting the little things go. That was a choice I made. I could have, which I started out to, and I'll be honest about it, I could have been scared. Morris, I know that you've been through quite a bit. And the fear does jump in there, and it jumps in there almost immediately. It's what you do with that. It's where do you go from there? Do you remember that you're not in charge, that God is? Do you start affirming that everything's going to be okay, that your health is going to return? Absolutely. Because without that, there's no basis to start it over, to do a rewind, to approach it differently. So again, change your thinking, change your mind, change your life. And that's one of the hardest lessons to stick with. We all know it. Was that new news to anybody here? Pretty sure it wasn't. But it's the practice. And that's the key right there, practice. Get contact, get your meditation, get the thing that works for you. And don't worry that it's not what works for anybody else. And don't worry that if you share it, you feel silly, then don't share it. But your path to God is never silly. And it's never insignificant. It's the most important thing that you will do in your life. And that, by the way, gets you in your life instead of outside looking in and complaining about the things that are going on either around the world or with yourself. So jump into your life. Stay in your own backyard for a while and see how many weeds you can pluck out and how your life will change. When we do this, I think the other thing we need to do is we need to recognize when we make a choice, look at it realistically. Know that there's challenges in any choice you make. And think about how you're going to meet those challenges. And if spirit and turning spirit isn't number one in the things you're going to do to make that challenge an easier thing, then you still got to change your thinking, because spirit will get you through all the changes. And actually, I started with the heart attack for me, but to kind of wind this up, at least for my part, because I'd like to open it up, I had a heart attack, as you know, and it made me think. I've always been working, and I work 60 hours a week, and I make myself insane, and I put everything else on the back burner. And I realized that I couldn't live that way anymore, or I wouldn't live. And I'm not ready to go home yet, so I think I better start living. So Michael and I, of course, thinking alike, because you guys know we always do, or mostly, we decided, number one, I must have been living in a fairy tale world or something, because we moved up here and we bought our house. The payment was no big deal. Well, then I lost a client and things went haywire and the payment became a big deal for a while. And then we managed to modify our loan and everything was back on an even keel. But while I was laying there in the hospital thinking about it, I realized that the only way that we can keep this house and continue on the path we're on is if I continue to work until I fall over at my desk. Well, so then the choice was, do I want to do that? Is the house, is the environment, is anything worth that? Well, no, because I'm not going to get to enjoy it. So fortunately, Michael was in the same position, because we both know that if one of us, something happens, the other one can't sustain this house by themselves. It's a dead end for us. We would have no choice but to rent it out, sell it, whatever. So we started talking about what else we could do. And Michael, who's the research king, started doing research about what we could do, where we could go, how we could manage to change our lifestyle without regretting it, without feeling bad about some part of it. And there are a few things like friends that we do feel bad about. But our decision was to find a place that's less expensive to live, overall, less expensive. And it's going to probably sound silly to a lot of you, but we've discovered that Mississippi is an absolutely beautiful place with very friendly people, and we can buy a house, a real house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or 2-bedroom, 1-bath, whatever. We can buy it for between $50,000 and $60,000. It might be a little bit of a fixer, but we can do that. And if we can buy a house and pay it off, then our lives become a whole different thing. And I realized then why we got into this house in the first place. Because, when I realized we were going to lose it or we could lose it, I thought, why in the heck did we move to Washington, make new friends, change everything in our lives so that we could give it all up? And then we talked to our realtor. And our realtor said, well, in the 2.5 years you guys have been here, your house is worth over $100,000 more than what you paid for it. That is the silver lining there. That's the answer. Without that, we would not have had the $50,000 or whatever to buy another place. It still wouldn't have been feasible. So this house was the means to an end. But if we hadn't opened up, to the possibilities. If we hadn't turned it over because there was nothing else to do but turn it over and let spirit guide us, we'd still be sitting here worried if we were going to lose it. As it is, our house payments are made through December. We've got plenty of time. The house is on the market. We did all these really cool remodel things, and it was about halfway through that when we discovered what it was going to be worth. Letting go isn't always easy, but the money we'll make off this house makes the letting go just a little bit easier.
Mhm.
So there's our major change, and I wanted to share that with all of you. We haven't shared it with a lot of people, but I'm hoping, obviously, through Zoom and everything else, to maintain some of the beautiful friendships. Okay, great, that we've made here. And I intend to do my part to do that. So whether it's a big change or a little one, the bottom line is listen to spirit. Because every time you don't, you make a mess of it. Because man was not meant to live without spirit fully and completely in their lives. So
Yes.
if you walk the path with spirit, you're on the right path. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fran.
Thank
So
you.
much, Fran.
Thank you for sharing. You guys are wonderful.
Right.
Thank you.
Huh.
All right. Does anybody else have anything to share before we just continue on and have a little bit more music? Nora, did you want to share anything?
No, I just think that when Fran sells her house, she doesn't have to go all the way to Mississippi. She can come down to Kitsap County. You know, that's a lot closer.
But it's not a lot cheaper, honey.
No.
Yeah, probably not. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
no, not quite.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Debbie, you have your hand up? Let me unmute you.
Oh, that hand up was from the earlier discussion, but thank you, Fran. That was a good talk.
Well, thank you.
Was.
I'd like to maybe close with a affirmation that I make a lot, and I'm sure many of you have heard it before, which says that the nature of every cell in my body is spirit, and spirit is perfect,
Amen.
and I'm forever grateful. Forever
Beautiful.
grateful. So,
Perfect. Absolutely perfect, Morris.
yes, especially anyone who's challenged with, with a health condition, to repeat that often can be very helpful. The nature of every cell in my body is spirit, and spirit is perfect, and I'm ever grateful.
That's wonderful. And thank all of you for sharing. I really, really learned a lot from this talk.
We did too.